When you think of a farm, this is the image that comes to mind: green fields and wide open space. But Dr. Dixon Despommier has a different idea.
If you imagine a one-layer greenhouse, which is easy because they exist all over the world, and then stack them on top of each other, then you have a vertical farm.
With more than 25 years of experience as a microbiologist and ecologist, Despommier says that by 2050, almost 80% of the Earth's population will live in urban communities.
A vertical farm is totally enclosed, for one thing. And also it's controlled. So you grow your food either in hydroponic mode or aeroponics, which is a mist-like spray over the roots of plants, and it involves no plowing.
That's because these methods do not need soil. Plants can be grown in water using a mineral nutrient solution to feed the roots.
On a hydroponic farm, which already exists, by the way, there are tons of these things out there, there's a little nursery where you take the seed and you germinate it and you make a tiny little plant out of it, and then you grow it to a certain level and then you move it to another situation.
Despommier estimates that just one 20-story vertical farm tower could feed a population of 50,000 for a year. While the concept of a totally enclosed vertical farm is new, urban farming is not. Many city slickers are now cultivating unused land and space in order to grow their own food. Greens for Queens in Elmhurst, New York is part of that movement. The organization built a farm on the spacious grounds of a local church. The intent is to grow organic produce to be donated to area food banks in an effort to reduce hunger.
Which is a problem that we shouldn't have. It's ridiculous. So it's enough already. We can solve the problem and move on to other things.
Taja Savell is the founder of Urban Farming. In just 3 years, this nonprofit has expanded to 6 other cities. With community involvement, they have planted a total of 160 gardens and donated more than a ton of food.
Don't put fences around the community gardens and in most of the cities, and so people can just go on there and get the food if they're starving or suffering from food insecurities.
By food insecurities, Savell is referring to the struggle some families go through just trying to pay for groceries. She says urban farming will help relieve hunger through education and generosity.
It's giving the fish to deal with the emergency of starvation and food insecurity, but also giving the fishing pole so that, people can do it on their own and keep going without having to always depend on somebody. There's something very, very powerful about planting food.
In today's innovative world, Savell feels it's unacceptable for anyone to go hungry.
There's so many ways. Planters in malls, little planters by the outdoor cafes, edible landscaping when a corporation does landscaping. They can get a write-off. Border with purple cabbages, put some French onions, and then give that to the food bank. So there's so many creative ways to get rid of hunger and keep it local and keep it right here.
An edible living wall is basically a living wall, which is a vertical surface that has a growing mechanism on it that can grow. It's traditionally been used to grow plants, but instead we're going to be growing food on it.
Architect Robin Osler has designed and plans to build the first edible living wall in Los Angeles. It will be located in the downtrodden area known as Skid Row. She says declining urban communities are where edible walls are needed most.
It really softens the whole effect of the street, and we know that plant life creates, it sort of takes the temperature down a few notches. It helps clean the air a little bit more. It makes a huge difference. So if you started to see a series of these throughout a city, there are places where this project could really make a difference in people's lives.
She agrees that in urban areas, a vertical structure is more practical.
It's a wall, so it doesn't take up a lot of real estate. People in cities are always, well, that's valuable real estate.
Anything else that you think you need?
We could use some money. It's something that we can bring into the community, get people involved with taking care of it, get people healthy food, which is huge.
I want to do vertical farming where There's financial support, there's political will, and there's social motivation. That's where I want to do it. And wherever you can point me in the direction of that, I will do it there. If it's Dubai, I will do it in Dubai. If it's in Incheon, Korea, I will do it there.
And there's a good chance of that happening. During our interview, these men from Korea met with Despommier to discuss investing money into his idea. They say organic produce is scarce in their country and vertical farming may offer a solution. The professor is willing, but he has certain conditions.
When I agree to do it there, I also want to do it somewhere else, where I want to do it. And I'll tell you where I want to do it. I want to do it in the middle of Manhattan. That's where I want to do it also.
And Despommier says there's no time to lose. Last year, our food prices rose an average of 4%. Despommier says worldwide, it's much higher.
Over the last year, food prices rose 40%. 40%. Next year, they will rise another 40%. Imagine a family that spends half of its income on food. What happens? Now they have to spend all of their income on food? Will that happen? No. The family will dissolve. The family will fail.
In April, a food shortage caused a riot in Haiti.
Where did that shortage come from? Farm failures, droughts, floods, insect pests, diseases, you name it. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse because of the rapidity of climate change.
Climate change means crops are being lost faster than we can harvest them. Indoor farming would protect plants against outside elements and allow farmland to turn back into forests, repairing the world's damaged ecosystems.
If you're a farmer in Ohio or Illinois or Iowa or Indiana, I want you to become a carbon farmer. Now, what do I mean by that? A carbon farmer is somebody who grows trees. The Kyoto Protocol will pay you to grow trees. They will pay farmers for reducing their carbon footprint. And in fact, what they will become are the stewards of the earth. They will make more money farming trees, just letting them grow back and watching them grow back, than they are now making corn to use for ethanol production.
Despommier is hoping to get prototypes built soon so that they may lead to the real thing.
When you can play with the vertical farm and work all of the mistakes out that I know we're going to make to begin with, just like we did when we invented cell phones. The first cell phones, remember how wonderful they were? They were about that big and they had an antenna that you had to raise up. They weren't portable at all. I mean, you had to clunk them down on the table, right? Then they got smaller and smaller and smaller until finally, I can show you a cell phone, and you know this, that you can't see sideways. So vertical farming will evolve the same way.
Producing food is an enormous undertaking, but Dr. Despommier says that we all need to be up to the challenge.
There's very little choice that we have but to proceed in the direction of management of food production within an enclosure. So we have no seasons, we have no weather-related crop failures, we can control the pests, we can harvest the water, we can harvest the food, we can recycle the energy from the waste. When we can do that, you can live on Mars.
Joy Polanco, Columbia Television News.